The conference hall stretched wider than 3 football fields. Sarah Chen stood at the entrance and tried not to show how nervous she felt. Above her head, the ceiling displayed a perfect view of stars and distant galaxies. Hundreds of alien beings filled the massive room, their voices creating a sound like ocean waves. Sarah wore her Earth Navy uniform with pride. The dark blue fabric felt crisp and new. On her shoulder sat a small patch showing Earth, a tiny blue dot that represented her entire world. She carried a data pad in her hands. Her fingers gripped it tightly. A tall creature approached her. It looked like a mix between a lizard and a bird, with green scales and bright orange feathers along its head. This was Commander Xylith of the Kralix Empire. The Kralix had been fighting wars in space for over 10,000 years. "Ah, the human representative," Xylith said. His voice came through a translation device that made it sound smooth and cold. "We have been curious about your species. Please, follow me to the presentation area." Sarah walked behind Xylith through the crowd. Aliens of every shape and size turned to look at her. Some had multiple eyes. Others had no eyes at all. A few floated in the air without legs. One creature looked like living crystal that reflected rainbow colors in all directions. These were the members of the Galactic Armada, the military force that protected thousands of worlds across dozens of star systems. Earth had only joined the Galactic Council 6 months ago. Humanity had just learned to travel faster than light 5 years before that. Compared to these ancient civilizations, humans were babies taking their first steps. They reached a raised platform at the center of the hall. Holographic displays floated in the air, showing star maps and fleet positions. Sarah saw dozens of impressive warships in the images. Each one looked powerful and advanced. Battle cruisers the size of mountains, carriers that could hold 1,000 fighter craft, weapons that could destroy planets. "Distinguished members of the Armada," Xylith announced loudly. The crowd grew quiet. "Earth has requested to join our military coalition. They wish to contribute forces to our defense fleet. I present Captain Sarah Chen, who will show us what humanity offers." Sarah stepped forward. Her heart pounded in her chest. She had practiced this presentation 100 times, but now her mouth felt dry. She touched her data pad, and a holographic image appeared above the platform. The image showed a single ship. It was Bhatti 180, Earth's destroyer. The vessel looked small compared to the alien warships around it in the display. Its hull was dark gray metal with simple lines. No fancy energy shields glowed around it. No massive weapon arrays stuck out from its sides. It looked plain and basic. Silence filled the hall for a moment. Then Sarah heard it. Laughter. It started as quiet chuckling from somewhere in the crowd, then more voices joined in. Within seconds, hundreds of aliens were laughing. Some made sounds like barking. Others created musical notes that somehow conveyed amusement. The crystal beings chimed like bells in a pattern that Sarah somehow knew meant they found this funny. Sarah's face felt hot. She kept her expression calm and professional, but inside she felt angry and embarrassed. "This is your contribution?" Xylith asked. He was not laughing, but his eyes showed clear amusement. "One destroyer? This vessel appears to be, how should I say this, outdated?" "Bhatti 180 is equipped with the latest human technology," Sarah said. Her voice came out steady and strong, which made her feel a bit better. "It carries a crew of 150 trained personnel. The ship has advanced sensors, multiple weapon systems, and can operate for 6 months without resupply." A floating creature that looked like a jellyfish with glowing tentacles spoke up. Its translation device made a bubbling sound. "Advanced by whose standards, human? Our basic scout ships surpass these specifications. This destroyer of yours would not survive 10 seconds against a real warship." More laughter rolled through the crowd. Another alien stepped forward. This one belonged to the Vex species, the crystalline beings Sarah had noticed earlier. The Vex representative sparkled as it moved, its body made of thousands of connected crystal pieces that somehow worked together as one being. Perhaps we are being too harsh, the Vex said. Its voice sounded like wind chimes. Humanity is young. They do not understand void combat. They have never faced real enemies in space. Give them time to observe and learn from proper military forces. Sarah wanted to argue. She wanted to tell them about Earth's thousands of years of warfare, about the brilliant military minds throughout human history, about the courage and creativity that humans showed in battle. But she knew it would not matter. These beings had fought wars before humans even discovered fire. They saw Earth as children playing with toys. Zilith raised one clawed hand, and the laughter slowly died down. Very well. Earth's request to join the Armada is accepted. Your destroyer will be assigned duties appropriate to its capabilities. The way he said appropriate to its capabilities made it clear what he meant. They would give Bhatti 180 some useless job far from any real fighting. We have an upcoming patrol mission, Zilith continued. The fleet will sweep the contested border zones near Gentari space. Pirate activity has increased there recently. Nothing too dangerous, but it requires attention. Your Bhatti 180 can join us. Another alien called out from the crowd. Put the humans on rear guard duty. Let them watch the supply ships. That way they cannot get in the way or get themselves killed. More laughter. Sarah felt her fingernails digging into her palms. She forced her hands to relax. An excellent suggestion, Xylov said. Captain Chen, your destroyer will monitor our supply convoy during the mission. Stay in formation, follow orders precisely, and try not to cause any problems. Consider this a learning experience. Understood, Commander, Sarah said. She kept her voice neutral and professional. The briefing continued. Xylith showed the assembled forces where they would patrol. He explained the formation patterns. He assigned specific roles to various ships. Throughout it all, Sarah noticed that Bhatti 180 was mentioned only as an afterthought, if at all. The real planning focused on the serious warships of species that knew what they were doing. When the briefing ended, the aliens broke into smaller groups to discuss details. Sarah started to walk toward the exit. She wanted to leave this place and return to her ship, to tell her crew what had happened. Captain Chen, a voice called. Sarah turned. The Vex representative floated toward her, its crystal body reflecting light in beautiful patterns. I hope you were not too offended by the reception, the Vex said. Many here have lost friends in battles against overwhelming forces. They do not laugh to be cruel. They laugh because your confidence seems innocent to them. They see your small destroyer and remember when their own species were young and thought themselves ready for war. I understand, Sarah said, though she was not sure she did. Do you? The Vex tilted its crystalline head in a gesture that might have been curiosity. Humans have an expression, I believe, something about pride coming before a fall. Be careful that confidence does not blind you to real dangers out here. Space warfare is not like the conflicts on your world. One mistake means death for your entire crew. No rescue, no second chances. We know the risks, Sarah said. My crew volunteered for this mission. They trained hard. They are ready. The Vex made a sound like tinkling glass. For your sake, I hope you are right. The Zentari border is usually quiet, but pirates can be unpredictable. Stay close to the fleet, and you should be safe. The crystal being floated away, leaving Sarah standing alone in the emptying hall. She looked up at the holographic displays one more time. The images showed the massive Galactic Armada fleet in all its power and glory. And somewhere in the back of that formation, barely visible, was one tiny human destroyer that nobody took seriously. Sarah squared her shoulders and walked toward the exit. They would see. When Bhatti 180 joined the fleet, humanity would prove they belonged here. Somehow. She just had to figure out how. Captain Elena Torres stood on the bridge of Bhatti 180 and watched the stars through the main view screen. She was 42 years old with short dark hair starting to show gray at the temples. Her uniform showed the wear of someone who spent more time working than worrying about appearance. Behind her, the bridge crew operated their stations with quiet efficiency. "Captain, incoming transmission from Armada Command," said Lieutenant Park from the communications station. He was young, maybe 25, with quick fingers that danced across his controls. "Put it through," Torres said. The view screen changed to show Commander Xylith, the Kralix officer. His orange feathers looked bright against his green scales. "Captain Torres, I am transmitting your mission orders for the upcoming patrol operation. Your vessel will be assigned to Formation Group 7, position rear guard. Your primary objective is to monitor supply convoy ships and ensure their safety. You will maintain a distance of no less than 50,000 kilometers from the main battle group. Do you understand these orders?" Torres felt her jaw tighten. Rear guard duty, babysitting supply ships. They might as well have told her to stay home. "I understand, Commander," she said. "May I ask why we are being positioned so far from the main fleet?" Zillith's eyes blinked slowly, one after the other. "Your destroyer lacks the shielding and firepower to survive a direct engagement. This position keeps you safe while still allowing you to contribute. The supply ships must be protected. It is an important role." The way he said "important" made it clear he thought it was anything but. "When do we deploy?" Torres asked. "The fleet jumps to the contested zone in 6 hours. Be ready." The transmission ended. Torres turned to face her bridge crew. They had all heard the conversation. She saw the disappointment on their faces. "Well," she said, "at least we got invited to the party, even if we have to stand in the corner." "This is garbage, Captain," said Lieutenant Commander James Rodriguez, her first officer. He was a big man with broad shoulders and hands that looked too large for the delicate controls he operated. "We train for combat operations, not escort duty." "I know, James, but these are our orders." "They are treating us like children," said Lieutenant Kenji Okafor from the sensor station. She was thin and tall, with sharp eyes that missed nothing. "They think we cannot fight." "Can we blame them?" Torres asked. She walked to the center of the bridge. "Look at this situation from their perspective. They have been fighting in space for thousands of years. We just got here. Our weapons are primitive compared to theirs. Our shields are weaker. Our ship is smaller. Why would they trust us in a real battle?" "Because we are damn good at what we do," Rodriguez said. Torres smiled. "Yes, we are, but they do not know that yet. So we will follow our orders, do our job perfectly, and wait for a chance to show them what humans can really do." Down in engineering, Commander Patricia Reeves was dealing with her own frustrations. She crawled through an access tunnel, her coveralls smeared with grease, checking power relay connections for the 10th time that week. "Hand me the calibration tool," she called out. A young technician named Danny Chen passed her the device. "Commander, why are we checking these relays again? They were fine yesterday." "Because when we jump into that contested zone, I want every system on this ship running at 110%, Reeves said. She was 50 years old and had spent 30 of those years working on military vessels. She knew every pipe, wire, and circuit on Bhatti 180 like she knew her own heartbeat. The big alien ships have redundant systems, triple backups for everything. We do not have that luxury. If something breaks, we fix it with spare parts and prayers." "Do you think we will see combat?" Chen asked. "Honestly, probably not. Rearguard duty means we stay far away from any fighting." Reeves finished her calibration and backed out of the tunnel. "But I have learned one thing in my career, Danny. The universe does not care about our plans. Murphy's Law applies in space just like on Earth. Whatever can go wrong, will go wrong. So we prepare for everything." In the weapons bay, Lieutenant Sarah Kim supervised the loading of their missile tubes. The weapons looked primitive compared to the energy beams and plasma cannons that alien ships used. These were simple, kinetic missiles, basically sophisticated bullets that relied on speed and mass rather than exotic energy. "These will not even scratch the shields on most alien warships," one of her crew members said. "Maybe not their shields, Kim replied, but kinetic weapons have advantages. They do not show up on energy sensors the same way. They do not need power from the ship's reactor, and if they hit something without shields, they hit hard, really hard. The supply ships we are protecting do not have combat shields, another crew member pointed out. Exactly. If pirates attack, these missiles will work just fine against them. Back on the bridge, Torres called a meeting of her senior officers. They gathered around the tactical display table, a holographic projection showing the layout of the patrol formation. Here is the situation, Torres began. The Armada fleet will jump to this sector. She pointed to a region of space near the border of Zentari territory. Intelligence reports suggest pirate activity in the area, small raids on shipping lanes, nothing serious, according to command. And we will be here, Rodriguez said, pointing to a position far behind the main fleet, watching supply ships. Correct. The supply convoy consists of 12 freighters carrying fuel, ammunition, and spare parts. Our job is to make sure nothing happens to them. Okafor leaned forward, studying the display. Captain, I have been looking at the intelligence reports. The pirate attacks follow a pattern. They strike quickly, hit soft targets, then run before military forces can respond. They avoid direct combat with warships. What are you thinking? Torres asked. I am thinking that a supply convoy protected by only one destroyer looks like a soft target. Torres nodded slowly. You think they might come after us? It is possible. These pirates are not stupid. They watch fleet movements. They look for opportunities. A lone destroyer far from the main battle group, protecting valuable supplies? That might be too tempting to pass up. Rodriguez grinned. So we might actually see some action. Maybe, Torres said, which means we need to be ready. James, I want combat drills every hour until we deploy. Sarah, make sure every weapon system is loaded and ready to fire. Patricia, keep those engines and shields at peak performance. Kenji, I need your sensors running at maximum range. If anything comes near us, I want to know about it before they know we see them. Yes, Captain, they all said together. For the next 6 hours, Bhatti 180 became a hive of activity. Crew members ran from station to station. Drills tested their response times. Engineers checked and rechecked every system. Weapons officers practiced firing solutions on simulated targets. Torres walked through the ship during this preparation time. She stopped in the mess hall where off-duty crew members grabbed quick meals before returning to work. Captain, a young ensign said, is it true that the aliens laughed at our ship during the briefing? Word had spread fast. Torres decided honesty was better than trying to hide the truth. Yes, they did. They think Bhatti 180 is too small and weak to matter. They think humans do not understand space combat. That is not fair, another crew member said. We trained hard for this. Fair or not, that is reality, Torres said. They judge us by their standards, by their technology. What they do not understand is that humans have been fighting wars since before we could write. We know about strategy and tactics. We know how to adapt and overcome. We just need a chance to prove it. Will we get that chance? Someone asked. Torres looked around at the faces of her crew. They were young and old, men and women, from a dozen different countries on Earth, but they all shared the same determination. I do not know, she admitted. Maybe this mission will be completely boring. Maybe we will spend 3 weeks floating in space watching nothing happen. But if we do get a chance, if something does go wrong, I promise you this, we will show the Galactic Armada what humans can do. The crew cheered. It was a small sound in the vastness of space, but it filled Torres with pride. When the 6 hours passed, Bhatti 180 took its position in the fleet formation. Through the view screen, Torres could see dozens of alien warships. They were massive and powerful, their hulls gleaming with advanced armor and bristling with weapons. Compared to them, her destroyer looked like a toy boat in an ocean of giants. All ships prepare for jump, came the command from the Armada flagship. Helm, match the fleet coordinates, Torres ordered. Coordinates locked, Captain, the helmsman replied. Torres sat in her command chair. She gripped the armrest firmly. All hands, this is the captain. Secure stations and prepare for FTL jump. Whatever happens on the other side, remember your training, trust your crewmates, and show the galaxy what Earth's Navy can do. Torres out. The fleet jumped. Reality twisted around them as faster-than-light engines tore holes in space. For a moment that felt like forever and no time at all, Bhatti 180 existed between dimensions. Then they emerged in the contested zone. Jump complete, the helmsman announced. All systems normal. Sensors, give me a scan of the area, Torres ordered. Okafor's hands flew across her controls. Reading the rest of the fleet, 12 supply ships in formation behind us. Local space appears clear of contacts. Wait, I am picking up some debris. Old battle damage from previous engagements. This area has seen fighting before. Stay alert, Torres said. The pirates know these shipping lanes. They know the patrol patterns. If they are going to hit us, they will wait for the right moment. The fleet moved forward into the contested zone. Bhatti 180 hung back with the supply convoy, exactly as ordered. To any observer, it looked like one small destroyer doing boring guard duty while the real warships went off to do important work. But Torres knew better. She had commanded ships through dangerous waters before. She had learned to trust her instincts. And right now, her instincts told her that something was wrong with this mission. She just did not know what yet. The Galactic Armada fleet moved through the contested zone like a pack of metal sharks. Their formation was perfect, exactly as it had been taught in military academies for thousands of years. The largest battleships took the center position. Cruisers flanked them on both sides. Faster destroyers and frigates ranged ahead as scouts. And far behind, almost forgotten, Bhatti 180 followed the supply convoy. On the bridge of the Armada flagship, Commander Xylith watched the sensor displays with satisfaction. Everything proceeded according to plan. The patrol route would take them through 3 solar systems that marked the border between Council space and Gentari territory. So far, they had detected nothing unusual. "Sir, we are picking up a distress signal," one of his officers reported. "It appears to be a civilian freighter under attack by pirates." Xylith's feathers rose slightly, a sign of interest. "Location? 2 light minutes ahead of our current position. The signal is weak but clear." "How many pirate vessels?" "Sensors indicate 3 small raiders. They match known pirate signatures from previous encounters." Xylith considered this. 3 raiders were nothing. His fleet could destroy them in minutes. But pirate attacks had been increasing in this sector. The Council wanted them stopped. This was an opportunity to send a message. "Alter course to intercept. Battle Group Alpha will engage. All other groups maintain patrol formation." The massive warships turned toward the distress signal. Their weapons systems came online, charging with power that could crack planets. The Kralix admiral felt confident. This would be over quickly. Captain Torres watched from Bhatti 180 as half the Armada fleet broke formation and accelerated away. "They are responding to something," Rodriguez said. "Pirates, probably." "Why only send half the fleet?" Torres wondered aloud. 3 raiders do not need that much firepower. Okafor studied her sensor readings. "The rest of the fleet is maintaining formation around us and the supply ships. Standard protocol, I suppose. Do not leave valuable assets unprotected." Torres frowned. Something felt wrong, but she could not identify what. Years of experience had taught her to trust that feeling. "Kenji, I want continuous long-range scans. Maximum sensitivity. Look for anything unusual." "Already on it, Captain." The minutes ticked by. Torres drummed her fingers on her chair's armrest. On the main view screen, she could see the distant flashes of weapons fire as the Armada ships engaged the pirates. The battle was too far away to see clearly, but the energy signatures were obvious. Then Okafor's station started beeping urgently. "Captain, I am picking up multiple new contacts. They just appeared out of nowhere. Distance, 500,000 kilometers. Counting now. 30, 40, 50 ships. They are big, Captain. Capital ship-sized. Show me, Torres ordered. The view screen changed to display Okafor's sensor data. Torres felt her blood run cold. A massive fleet had just decloaked directly in front of the Armada's remaining forces. The ships were angular and aggressive-looking, covered in weapon ports and armor plating. Gentari warships, Rodriguez breathed. This is not a pirate raid, it is a trap. On the Armada flagship, alarms blared across every deck. Officers shouted reports and commands overlapped into chaos. Gentari fleet decloaking. Count is over 100 vessels. They outnumber us 2-1. Battle Group Alpha is too far away to return in time. Commander Xylith stared at the sensor displays in shock. The distress signal had been bait. The pirates had led half his fleet out of position. Now the Zentari collective was striking with overwhelming force. Recall Battle Group Alpha immediately. All remaining ships prepare for combat. Defensive formation pattern Theta. But there was no time. The Zentari ships opened fire. Space lit up with weapons fire. Massive beams of coherent energy crossed the void at light speed. Plasma torpedoes traced glowing arcs through the darkness. Kinetic slugs accelerated to a fraction of light speed, slammed into shields with devastating force. The Galactic Armada ships returned fire. Their weapons were powerful and their crews experienced, but they were outnumbered and surprised. Ships that had stood for centuries against countless enemies now found themselves overwhelmed. A Vex cruiser exploded in a shower of crystal fragments. A Kralix battleship lost half its hull to a direct hit. Smaller vessels tried to retreat, but found themselves cut off by enemy fire. Captain, the Armada is taking heavy casualties, Okafor reported. Her voice was steady, but her hands shook slightly. The Zentari are using a coordinated attack pattern. They are focusing fire to destroy one ship at a time before moving to the next target. Torres watched the battle unfold. The supply ships behind her were beginning to panic. Their civilian crews had never expected combat. Some were breaking formation, trying to run. Hail the supply convoy, Torres ordered. Tell them to maintain formation and stay close to us. If they scatter, they will be picked off. Park opened the communication channel. Supply ships, this is Bhatti 180. Do not break formation. We will protect you. Stay together and follow our lead. Some of the freighters listened. Others continued to panic and accelerate away from the battle. Captain, incoming transmission from Armada Command, Park said. Put it through. A Kralix officer appeared on screen. It was not Xylith, which meant the commander was probably busy or dead. This officer's feathers were scorched and one of his arms hung limply. All ships, maintain defensive positions. Protect the supply convoy at all costs. Do not engage the main Zentari fleet. Repeat, do not engage. Your priority is to keep the supply ships safe and wait for Battle Group Alpha to return. The transmission ended. They want us to sit here and watch them die, Rodriguez said quietly. Torres clenched her jaw. The orders were clear. Bhatti 180 was to stay back, protect the supplies, and let the real warships handle the fighting. Never mind that those warships were being torn apart. Never mind that the supply ships were already starting to scatter. Never mind that doing nothing went against every instinct Torres had. Captain, 2 supply ships have broken formation, Okafor reported. They are trying to jump to FTL. Wait, I am reading new contacts. Zentari raiders are moving to intercept the fleeing ships. On the view screen, Torres saw smaller Zentari vessels breaking away from the main battle. They were hunting the panicked freighters like wolves chasing sheep. Those supply ships will not make it, Rodriguez said. Their engines need time to charge for a jump. The raiders will catch them first. Torres made a decision. She knew she was about to disobey orders. She knew the consequences could be severe, but she had not joined the military to sit safely in the back while others died. Helm, Plot an intercept course for those raiders. Maximum acceleration. Her bridge crew turned to look at her. For a moment, no one moved. Captain, our orders were to maintain position, Rodriguez said carefully. Our orders were to protect the supply convoy, Torres replied. I cannot protect ships that are running away, so we are going after them. Now plot that course. Yes, Captain, the helmsman said. His fingers flew across his controls. Course laid in. Engineering, this is the bridge. Patricia, I need everything you can give me. Speed and shields. Reeves's voice came back immediately. Captain, are we actually joining this fight? Yes, we are. About damn time. I will give you 110%. Reeves out. Torres felt Bhatti 180 surge forward as the engines pushed beyond their normal limits. The destroyer accelerated away from the remaining supply ships, streaking toward the fleeing freighters and the raiders chasing them. Captain, we are receiving hails from the Armada flagship. They are ordering us to return to position, Park reported. Do not respond. Maintain communication silence. Yes, Captain. Okafor watched her sensors. The raiders are closing on the first supply ship. They are powering weapons. Impact in 90 seconds. Weapons. Target the lead raider. Load missile tubes 1 through 4 with kinetic penetrators, Torres ordered. Lieutenant Kim's voice came through from the weapons bay. Captain, kinetic weapons will not penetrate Zentari shields. I am counting on it. Load the missiles. Loading now. Torres watched the tactical display. The Zentari raiders were fast, probably faster than Bhatti 180, but they were focused on the supply ships. They had not noticed one destroyer breaking formation to intercept them. Range to targets? Torres asked. 50,000 kilometers in closing, Okafor said. Not yet. Keep closing. 30,000 kilometers. Hold. 20,000 kilometers. Captain, they are detecting us. The raiders are altering course. Now, fire missiles 1 through 4, spread pattern. Bhatti 180 shuddered slightly as the kinetic missiles launched. They were simple weapons, just sophisticated bullets with guidance systems. No energy signature to give them away. No glowing trail to track them by. Just mass and velocity. The Zentari raiders detected the incoming projectiles too late. Their shields came up automatically. The kinetic missiles struck the energy barriers and detonated, exactly as Torres knew they would. The explosions did no damage, but they created massive bursts of electromagnetic interference. Raiders are blind, Okafor reported with satisfaction. Their sensors are scrambled. Helm, bring us in close, right into the middle of them. Captain, that is extremely dangerous, Rodriguez said. I know, do it anyway. Bhatti 180 dove into the cloud of interference created by their own missile impacts. The raider ships were there, confused and scanning blindly. Torres could see them on the view screen now, dark, angular vessels bristling with weapons. Target the raider on our port side. Missiles 5 through 8, proximity fuse. Fire. More kinetic missiles launched. This time they exploded near the raider's hull, below the shields. The Zentari ship's armor held, but the detonations damaged several weapon ports and sensor arrays. The raider tried to return fire, but its targeting systems were still scrambled. Energy beams cut through space where Bhatti 180 had been seconds before. Helm, evasive pattern delta, keep us moving. The destroyer twisted and turned, never staying in one place for more than a few seconds. The Zentari raiders tried to track them, but without functioning sensors, they were firing blind. The supply ships are jumping to FTL, Okafor reported. They made it. Good. Now get us out of here before these raiders figure out where we are. But it was too late. The electromagnetic interference was fading. The Zentari ships were recovering their sensors, and now they were very, very angry. All three raiders turned their full attention to Bhatti 180. Weapons charged with deadly power. The small human destroyer had embarrassed them, and they wanted revenge. Incoming fire from all three raiders, Okafor warned. Multiple target locks. Captain, we cannot dodge them all. Torres gripped her chair. Shields to maximum. Brace for impact. The Zentari weapons fired as one. Energy beams slammed into Bhatti 180's shields. The entire ship shook like a toy in the hands of an angry giant. Lights flickered on the bridge. Sparks shot from one of the control panels. The smell of burning circuits filled the air. Shields down to 60%, Rodriguez shouted over the noise of alarms. Hull integrity holding. Return fire, all weapons, Torres ordered. Target their weapon systems. I want them unable to shoot at us. Bhatti 180's missile tubes fired in rapid sequence. Kinetic projectiles and conventional warheads streaked toward the Zentari raiders. Some impacted shields and detonated harmlessly. Others found gaps in the defensive fields and struck armor plating. One lucky shot hit a weapon mount and tore it clean off a raider's hull. But 3 against 1 was bad odds, and the raiders had better shields than the human destroyer. Another barrage of enemy fire hit home. Bhatti 180 rocked violently. A console exploded, sending one bridge officer tumbling backward. Shields down to 30%, Rodriguez reported. We cannot take much more of this, Captain. Engineering, I need more power to the shields, Torres said into the comm. I am trying, Captain, Reeves replied. Her voice was strained. But the shield generators were not designed for this level of punishment. Give me 30 seconds. We might not have 30 seconds. Torres watched the tactical display. The 3 raiders were coordinating their fire now, focusing on Bhatti 180's weakest shield quadrant. One more good hit, and they would punch through to the hull. After that, the destroyer would be torn apart. Then Okafor spoke up from her sensor station. Her voice was excited. Captain, I found something. The raiders are coordinating their attacks, right? They are not just shooting randomly, they are working together. I noticed. What about it? How are they coordinating? I checked their communication patterns. They are using a tight beam frequency to share targeting data. All 3 ships are linked to a command signal. Torres felt a spark of hope. Can you trace that signal? Already did. It is coming from the main Zentari fleet. They have a command ship broadcasting to all their vessels, not just the raiders fighting us, but all the Zentari ships in the battle. Rodriguez understood immediately. If we could disrupt that command signal, the Zentari fleet would lose coordination, Torres finished. They would have to fight as individual ships instead of as a unified force. Kenji, can you identify which ship is broadcasting the command signal? Okafor's fingers danced across her controls. Give me a moment. There is a lot of interference from the battle. Wait, got it. The command ship is hanging back from the fighting, about 800,000 kilometers from the main engagement. It is a large vessel, heavily armored. The Armada ships have not even noticed it because it is not shooting at them. Torres studied the tactical display. The command ship was far away, protected by distance in the chaos of battle. Getting to it would mean running through the middle of a massive fleet engagement. Bhatti 180 would be exposed to fire from dozens of Zentari warships. It was a suicide run. It was also possibly the only way to save the Armada. Captain, the raiders are charging weapons again, Rodriguez warned. Shields are down to 20%. One more hit like that and we are done. Torres made her decision. Her father had always told her that sometimes the craziest plan is the best plan, because enemies never expect you to do something insane. Helm, plot a micro-jump to these coordinates. She highlighted a position near the Zentari command ship. We are going to jump right into the middle of their fleet. The bridge crew stared at her in shock. Captain, that is extremely dangerous, Rodriguez said. We would be surrounded by enemy ships. Jumping that close to a gravity well is risky, the helmsman added. We could drop out of FTL inside the command ship itself. I am aware of the risks, Torres said calmly, but we do not have time to fly there normally. The Armada is dying. If we wait, there will be nobody left to save. Calculate the jump. Yes, Captain, the helmsman said reluctantly. Weapons? Load all heightened kinetic penetrators. When we drop out of FTL, I want every missile tube ready to fire immediately. No delays. Understood, Captain, Kim replied from weapons control. Engineering, Patricia, I need you to do something crazy. My favorite kind of request, Reeves said. What do you need? When we jump, I need you to divert all shield power to the forward section for exactly 10 seconds. After that, redirect everything to the engines. We are going to hit something hard and then run away fast. Captain, that will leave the rest of the ship completely unprotected. I know. Can you do it? There was a pause. Yes, but I really hope you know what you are doing. So do I. Stand by for jump. The three Zentari raiders were closing in for the kill, their weapons charged with enough power to finally finish off the damaged human destroyer. They could taste victory. FTL jump calculated, the helmsman reported. Entering final coordinates now. All hands, brace for emergency jump, Torres announced over the ship-wide comm. This is going to be rough. She gripped her chair. The view screen showed the three raiders moving in for the final strike. Energy built up in their weapon systems, glowing brighter and brighter. Jump, Torres ordered. Reality twisted. Bhatti 180 vanished from normal space just as the raiders fired. Their weapons struck empty vacuum where the human ship had been a microsecond before. The Zentari vessels slowed in confusion, searching for their prey. Inside Bhatti 180, the microjump felt like falling down an elevator shaft. The ship shook and groaned. Equipment strained against forces it was never designed to handle. Crew members held onto anything bolted down. Some people screamed, others prayed. Then they dropped back into normal space. The view screen showed a sight no human had ever seen this close before. They were inside the Zentari fleet formation, surrounded by massive warships. And directly ahead, less than 5,000 kilometers away, was the command ship. It was enormous, easily 5 times the size of Bhatti 180, with thick armor plating and defensive turrets covering every surface. Forward shields to maximum, Torres ordered. Weapons, fire everything at the command ship's communication array. Now! Bhatti 180 unleashed every kinetic missile it had left. 24 projectiles streaked toward the command ship. The Zentari vessel's defensive systems reacted, but not fast enough. The missiles were already too close, moving too fast. The kinetic penetrators slammed into the command ship like the fist of an angry god. They were simple weapons, just mass and velocity, but they hit with the force of small meteors. The command ship's communication array, a delicate cluster of antennae and sensors on the vessel's upper hull, simply disintegrated under the impact. Debris scattered across space. The command ship reeled from the strike, its transmissions cutting off instantly. Direct hit, Okafor confirmed. Their command network just went dark. The Zentari ships are no longer receiving coordination signals. All across the battlefield, the Zentari fleet suddenly lost its unified direction. Ships that had been working together in perfect harmony now found themselves operating independently. Targeting solutions broke down. Formation patterns dissolved. The overwhelming coordinated assault became dozens of individual ship actions. But Bhatti 180 had bigger problems. Multiple target locks, Okafor warned. Every Zentari ship within range is targeting us. Count is over 30 vessels. Engineering, redirect all power to engines, Torres ordered. Helm, get us out of here. Maximum speed, random evasive pattern. Where do I go, Captain? The helmsman asked desperately. We are surrounded. Torres looked at the tactical display. There was no safe direction. Zentari ships blocked every escape route. They were trapped in the middle of the enemy fleet with 30 warships about to open fire. Then she saw it, a gap in the Zentari formation where the command ship had been hanging back. The massive vessel was still there, but it was damaged and disoriented. More importantly, there was empty space on the other side of it. Helm, new course. Take us straight toward the command ship. We are going to fly under it. Captain, that ship has defensive turrets. They will shoot us apart. Those turrets need targeting data from the main computer, which is currently trying to figure out why its communication array just exploded. They will be slow to respond. Do it now. Bhatti 180 accelerated directly at the command ship. It was like flying toward a floating city. The Zentari vessel grew larger and larger on the view screen until it filled their entire field of vision. Defensive turrets on the command ship began to rotate, tracking the approaching destroyer. But Torres was right. Without guidance from the ship's main computer, the turrets were operating on local control. They moved slowly, uncertain. Passing under the command ship now, the helmsman reported. Bhatti 180 dove beneath the massive Zentari vessel, flying so close that the crew could see individual armor plates and weapon ports through the view screen. A few defensive turrets managed to fire, but their shots went wide or struck the underside of their own ship. Then they were through, emerging on the other side with open space ahead. "Punch it," Torres ordered. "Get us away from here." The destroyer's engines flared at maximum power. Bhatti 180 shot away from the Zentari fleet like a stone from a slingshot. Behind them, enemy ships tried to give chase, but they were still disorganized from losing their command network. "We are clear," Rodriguez reported. He was breathing hard. "Captain, we just flew through the middle of their entire fleet." "Did it work?" Torres asked. "Did we help the Armada?" Okafor checked her sensors. A smile spread across her face. "Captain, the Zentari formation is breaking down. Without coordination, they are fighting as individuals. The Armada is adapting. They are focusing fire on isolated Zentari ships and destroying them one at a time." On the view screen, Torres could see the battle changing. The Galactic Armada, which had been on the verge of destruction, was now rallying. The alien commanders recognized what had happened and seized the opportunity. Concentrated fire destroyed one Zentari ship, then another, then 3 more in rapid succession. "Battle Group Alpha is returning," Okafor continued. "The Zentari are starting to retreat. Captain, I think we just won this fight." Torres sagged back in her chair. The adrenaline was wearing off, leaving her exhausted. Commander Xylith stood on the bridge of the Armada flagship and tried to understand what had just happened. One moment, his fleet was being torn apart by a coordinated Zentari assault. The next moment, the enemy coordination simply stopped. The Zentari ships were still fighting, but they were no longer working together. It was the difference between facing a trained army and facing a mob. "Sir, the Zentari command network has gone offline," his tactical officer reported. "They are operating on local control only." "How is that possible? What happened to their command ship?" "Checking now, sir. Wait, I am seeing something on the sensor logs. A ship executed a micro-jump directly into the Zentari formation, attacked the command vessel, then escaped. It was a suicide run, except somehow the ship survived." Xylith's feathers rose in surprise. "Which ship? Who would be insane enough to attempt that?" "Identifying now. Sir, it was the human destroyer, Bhatti 180. For a long moment, Xylith could not speak. The small, human ship that he had mocked and assigned to rearguard duty had just flown into the heart of the enemy fleet and crippled their command structure. It was the most reckless, audacious military action he had witnessed in his 40 years of service. It was also brilliant. "All ships, focus fire on isolated enemy vessels," Xylith ordered, recovering his composure. "Use the confusion to our advantage. Destroy them ship by ship. Do not let them regroup." The Galactic Armada pressed their advantage. Without coordination, the Zentari ships became easy targets. One by one, they fell to concentrated fire. Some tried to retreat, others fought to the last. But the battle's momentum had completely reversed. Aboard Bhatti 180, Captain Torres was not celebrating yet. Her ship had taken heavy damage during the fight with the raiders. Warning lights flashed on multiple consoles. The smell of burned electronics was everywhere. "Damage report," she ordered. Rodriguez consulted his displays. "Shields are offline and will need at least 2 hours of repair work. Hull breaches on decks 3 and 5, but they are sealed now. We lost 2 missile tubes. Port sensor array is damaged, and the FTL drive is showing stress fractures from that micro jump. Patricia says we should not jump again until she can inspect it properly." "Casualties?" "7 injured, none serious. We were lucky, Captain." Torres nodded. They had been very lucky. That micro jump could have killed them all. Dropping out of FTL that close to another ship was one of the most dangerous maneuvers in space travel. Military academies taught it as something to avoid at all costs. But sometimes the textbook answer was not the right answer. "Captain, incoming transmission from the Armada flagship," Park announced. "Commander Xylith wants to speak with you." Torres straightened her uniform and tried to look professional. Her hair was a mess, and she had a cut on her forehead from when the ship shook during combat. But there was nothing to be done about that now. "Put him through." Xylith's face appeared on the view screen. His orange feathers were singed, and he looked exhausted. But his eyes showed something Torres had not seen there before. Respect. "Captain Torres," Xylith began, "I have reviewed the sensor logs of your actions during the battle. You disobeyed direct orders to maintain position with a supply convoy." Here it comes, Torres thought. The court-martial, the end of her career. But she had made her choice and stood by it. "Yes, Commander, I did. You also executed a micro-jump into enemy formation, a maneuver so dangerous that it is forbidden by Armada regulations, except in the most extreme circumstances." "Yes, Commander. You attacked a vessel 5 times your size with no support and no backup plan." "That is correct, Commander." Xylith's expression changed. To Torres's surprise, it almost looked like a smile. "In doing so, you saved this entire fleet. If you had not disabled that command ship, we would have been destroyed. The Zentari would have won this battle and gained control of this entire sector." Torres did not know what to say. She had expected anger, not gratitude. "I owe you an apology, Captain Torres," Xylith continued. "When you presented your destroyer at the briefing, I laughed. We all did. We thought humans were too inexperienced to contribute to real military operations. We were wrong. You showed courage, creativity, and tactical brilliance that would be impressive from any species, but is extraordinary from one so new to void combat." "Thank you, Commander," Torres managed to say. "My crew performed exceptionally. They deserve the credit. Your crew followed your orders. The strategy was yours. Tell me, how did you know to target the command ship?" "My sensor officer, Lieutenant Okafor, identified the command network. We noticed that Zentari ships were coordinating too well. They had to be receiving external targeting data. Once we found the source, destroying it became the obvious tactical choice." "Obvious?" Xylith made a sound that might have been a laugh. "Captain, in 3,000 years of Krallick's military history, no commander has ever attempted what you just did. We have protocols and procedures for every situation. But sometimes protocols are not enough. Sometimes you need someone willing to take risks and think differently. That is what humans bring to the Armada. Fresh perspectives, new tactics, the ability to look at an impossible situation and find a solution that nobody else considered." The view screen split to show other alien commanders joining the transmission. The crystalline Vex representative was there, along with officers from 6 other species. They all looked at Torres with new understanding. The Vex spoke, its voice chiming like bells. "We judged your species too quickly, Captain Torres. We saw your primitive weapons and small ships and assumed you had nothing to teach us. But technology is not everything. Strategy and courage matter more. Your destroyer may be small, but you fought with the heart of a much larger vessel." Other commanders offered similar words. Torres felt overwhelmed by the sudden praise. Just hours ago, these same beings had mocked her ship. Now they treated her like a hero. Captain Torres, once Battle Group Alpha finishes securing the area, we will regroup and assess our situation, Xylith said. The Zentari will not give up easily. They chose this location for an ambush deliberately. They know these star systems better than we do. But your actions have given us time to regroup and plan our next move. In the meantime, get your ship repaired and your crew rested. You have earned it. The transmission ended. Torres sat back in her chair and let out a long breath. We actually did it, Rodriguez said quietly. We proved we belong here. We proved humans can fight in space, Torres replied. But this is just the beginning. The Zentari know about us now. They will not underestimate Bhatti 180 again. Down in engineering, Commander Reeves was less worried about glory and more focused on the mountain of repair work facing her team. The micro-jump had stressed systems in ways they were never designed to handle. The shield generators needed complete rebuilds. The FTL drive required careful inspection of every component. I need repair crews on decks 3 and 5, sealing those hull breaches properly, she ordered. And someone figure out why the port sensor array is only giving us half power. I want this ship combat ready again in 8 hours. Commander, that is impossible, one of her technicians protested. We need at least 20 hours for these repairs. Then we work twice as fast. The Zentari are still out there. If they attack again, I will not let this ship go into battle half-broken. We owe the captain and the bridge crew a vessel that can protect them. The engineering teams threw themselves into the work. Throughout Bhatti 180, crew members dealt with battle damage. Medics treated the injured. Weapons teams reloaded missile tubes. Everyone understood that they had won a battle, but not the war. Lieutenant Okafor remained at her sensor station, monitoring the tactical situation. Battle Group Alpha had engaged the retreating Zentari forces and was finishing them off. The supply convoy was safe. The Armada was regrouping into defensive positions. But something on her sensors bothered her. She ran another scan of the area, focusing on the debris field left by the battle. Captain, I am picking up unusual readings from the wreckage of one of the Zentari ships we destroyed. Torres walked over to look at Okafor's displays. What kind of unusual readings? Active power signatures. That ship should be dead, but something inside it is still functioning. It is transmitting on a tight beam frequency. Transmitting to who? Okafor expanded the scan, her eyes widened. Captain, I am detecting new contacts at the edge of our sensor range. Multiple contacts. They are hanging back, just outside effective weapons range. Torres felt ice in her stomach. How many contacts? At least 30 ships. No, wait, more are appearing. 40, 50. Captain, there is another Zentari fleet out there, and they are much larger than the first one. On the main view screen, the dots representing new enemy vessels continued to multiply. The Galactic Armada had just fought a desperate battle and survived. They had taken casualties and many ships were damaged. And now another enemy fleet was gathering for a second attack. Get me Commander Xylith, Torres ordered. He needs to know about this immediately. The transmission connected. Xylith appeared on screen, and Torres could see he was already receiving the same information from his own sensors. We see them, Captain Torres. It appears the Zentari collective was more prepared than we realized. The first attack was not just a trap, it was a test. They wanted to see how we would respond. Now they are sending their main battle fleet. Can the Armada fight them? Torres asked. Xylith's expression was grim. We are damaged and low on ammunition. Battle Group Alpha used most of their missiles, destroying the retreating forces. If the Zentari attack now, we cannot hold them off. Then we need to retreat. We cannot. The supply convoy needs 2 hours to charge their FTL drives. Civilian freighters are slower than military vessels. We must protect them until they can jump away. Torres looked at the tactical display. The Zentari fleet was slowly moving forward, not rushing to attack. They knew the Armada was trapped. They could take their time, get into optimal position, and strike when ready. It was like watching a slow-motion execution. The second Gentari fleet emerged from the darkness like sharks drawn by blood in the water. 60 capital ships, each one a massive war machine built for destruction. They arranged themselves in a perfect attack formation and began their slow advance toward the damaged Galactic Armada. On the bridge of Bhatti 180, Captain Torres studied the tactical display with growing dread. The numbers told a clear story. The Armada had 38 operational warships remaining. Half of those were damaged to some degree. Against 60 fresh enemy vessels in perfect fighting condition, the outcome was certain. 2 hours until the supply convoy can jump, Rodriguez said quietly. We will never last that long. Torres knew he was right, but she also knew that running was not an option. Those supply ships carried fuel, ammunition, and medical supplies for military bases throughout the sector. If the Zentari captured or destroyed them, thousands of beings on dozens of worlds would suffer. Captain, transmission from the Armada flagship, Park announced. All commanders are being called to an emergency strategy session. Virtual conference. Put it through. The view screen split into multiple sections, showing the faces of commanders from every ship in the fleet. Torres recognized most of them from the initial briefing. Commander Xylith appeared at the center, looking even more exhausted than before. The situation is clear to all of you, Xylith began without preamble. The Zentari have us outnumbered and outgunned. Our ships are damaged. We are low on ammunition, and we must hold this position for 2 hours while the supply convoy prepares to jump. I will not lie to you. Our chances of survival are minimal. A Vex commander spoke up, its crystal body flickering with distressed colors. Perhaps we should abandon the supply ships, save the warships to fight another day. No, said a Kralix officer. Those supplies are vital, and we do not leave civilians to die. That is not who we are. Then we face a choice, another commander said. Stand and die with honor, or surrender to the Zentari and hope they show mercy. Torres listened to the debate. These were experienced military officers from advanced civilizations, and they saw no path to victory. But Torres was human, and humans had a long history of winning battles they were supposed to lose. Excuse me, commanders, she interrupted. I have an idea. The other commanders turned their attention to her. Torres saw skepticism on some faces, but also hope. Her previous success had earned her a chance to be heard. The Zentari are advancing slowly because they know we are trapped, Torres began. They want to get into optimal firing positions before attacking. That gives us time. Not much, but some. Time for what? Xylith asked. To make them think we are stronger than we are. To bluff them into hesitating. Captain Torres, they can scan our fleet strength just as we can scan theirs. They know our exact numbers. They know our numbers, but they do not know our capabilities. They know we disabled their command ship with tactics they had never seen before. They know we used micro jumps and kinetic weapons in ways that surprise them. What if we make them believe we have more surprises ready? A commander with tentacles instead of arms waved them dismissively. The Zentari are not fools. They will not fall for such a simple deception. Not simple, complicated. We stage a demonstration, something that looks like a new weapon or defensive system, something that makes them pause and reconsider their attack. Even if we only buy 30 minutes of hesitation, that is 30 minutes closer to the supply ships being ready to jump. Xylith's eyes narrowed thoughtfully. What kind of demonstration? Torres had been thinking about this while the other commanders talked. An idea had formed, crazy and desperate but possible. The debris field from the first battle is still floating in space between us and the approaching Gentari fleet. Thousands of pieces of destroyed ships. What if we could make that debris look like a minefield? Make them think we seeded the area with explosives while they were regrouping. We do not have mines, another commander pointed out. We do not need real mines. We need the appearance of mines. Lieutenant Okafor, my sensor officer, detected that some of the destroyed Gentari ships are still putting out power readings. What if we enhanced those readings, made them look like active weapon systems? The Gentari would detect unusual energy signatures in the debris field and have to assume it is dangerous. The Vex commander chimed in. That would require us to fly ships into the debris field and plant power sources. Dangerous work, and it would take time we do not have. Not ships, missiles. We load missiles with power cells and program them to fly into the debris field. Once there, they activate and broadcast energy on multiple frequencies. To Gentari sensors, it would look like dozens of hidden weapons waiting to detonate. Xylith considered this. Even if it works, they will eventually scan the debris field carefully and realize the truth. But that takes time. Sensor sweeps, analysis, debates among their commanders. Maybe we buy 20 minutes, maybe 30. Every minute counts. The commanders looked at each other. Torres could see them calculating odds, weighing risks. They were used to overwhelming force and superior technology. The idea of winning through deception made them uncomfortable. Finally, Xylith spoke. We will try it. All ships will contribute missiles for this fake minefield. Captain Torres, you will coordinate the operation. You have 15 minutes to make this work. The transmission ended. Torres turned to her crew. You heard the commander. We have 15 minutes to create the most convincing fake minefield in military history. Sarah, I need every missile we can spare. Strip out the warheads and replace them with power cells. Program them to activate on a delay and broadcast on as many frequencies as possible. Lieutenant Kim's voice came from weapons control. Captain, we only have 12 missiles left after the first battle. That is not enough to cover the debris field. Other ships are contributing missiles too. We just need to make it look convincing. How quickly can you reprogram them? 10 minutes for all 12 missiles. Do it. Kenji, I need you to analyze the debris field. Find the best locations to place our fake mines. Anywhere that would be a natural choke point for the Gentari fleet. On it, Captain. Throughout the Armada fleet, weapons officers scrambled to reprogram missiles. It was delicate work, normally done carefully over hours. Now they had minutes. Engineers removed explosive warheads and replaced them with power cells scavenged from emergency systems. Programmers wrote new code to make the missiles activate and broadcast once they reached their destinations. Mistakes happened. One missile exploded on the launch tube when its arming mechanism was triggered accidentally. 2 technicians died in that accident. Another missile failed to launch properly and drifted away uselessly. But most of the missiles launched successfully. 97 modified missiles spread out across the debris field, threading between chunks of destroyed ships. They looked like ordinary missiles to the Gentari sensors, but the enemy fleet was still too far away to scan them in detail. Once the missiles reached their destinations, they activated. Suddenly, the debris field lit up with dozens of energy signatures. Power cells broadcast on radar frequencies, thermal frequencies, electromagnetic frequencies. To anyone scanning the area, it looked like hidden weapons coming online. Aboard the lead Gentari battleship, alarms began sounding. Admiral, we are detecting multiple active power sources in the debris field, a Gentari sensor operator reported. Configuration matches mine deployment patterns. The Gentari admiral studied the sensor data. Mines in the debris field would complicate their attacks significantly. Clearing them would take time and expose his ships to fire from the Armada fleet. But something seemed wrong. When did they deploy these mines? The admiral asked. We have been monitoring their fleet. No ships entered the debris field. Unknown, Admiral. Perhaps they were deployed during the first battle and only activated now. Scan the signatures more carefully. I want to know exactly what we are looking at. Beginning detailed scans now. It will take approximately 20 minutes to complete analysis. 20 minutes. Torres watched the Gentari fleet slow its advance as the enemy commanders dealt with this new complication. It was working. The bluff was actually working. The Gentari have stopped advancing, Okafor reported. They are launching scout probes into the debris field, scanning for mines. How long until they figure out the truth? Rodriguez asked. Hard to say, maybe 15 minutes, maybe longer if we are lucky. Torres checked the countdown timer. The supply ships needed 90 more minutes before they could jump. They had bought perhaps 20 minutes with the fake minefield. That left 70 minutes to fill somehow. She was about to call another conference with the Armada commanders when Okafor made an urgent sound. Captain, I am detecting new contacts, not Gentari. These are coming from a different direction entirely. More enemies? Torres felt her heart sink. They could not handle a third fleet. No, Captain. These are Galactic Council ships, a rescue fleet. They must have received our distress signal and jumped here as fast as they could. The tactical display updated to show 40 fresh warships emerging from FTL. They were not military vessels like the Armada ships. These were cruisers and destroyers from the Council's home defense fleets, pulled from garrison duty to respond to the emergency. Not as powerful as dedicated warships, but still dangerous. More importantly, they were undamaged and ready to fight. The Gentari admiral saw the new arrivals too. His tactical situation had just changed dramatically. Instead of facing a damaged fleet that he outnumbered 2-1, he now faced a combined force roughly equal to his own. And that fake minefield in the debris field suddenly looked much more dangerous when he might need to retreat through it. Torres watched the Gentari fleet on the tactical display. For several long minutes, nothing happened. Then, slowly, the enemy ships began to turn away. They are withdrawing, Okafor said with amazement. The Gentari are breaking off their attack. On the Armada flagship, Commander Zillith watched the enemy retreat with relief and disbelief. Against all odds, they had survived. The fake minefield had bought enough time for reinforcements to arrive. The gamble had worked. He opened a channel to Bhatti 180. Captain Torres, it seems I owe you another debt of gratitude. Your deception bought us the time we needed. We were lucky, Commander, Torres replied. If the rescue fleet had been 5 minutes later, the Gentari would have discovered our trick. Sometimes luck is the most important factor in war, but you created the opportunity for luck to matter. That is the mark of a skilled commander. The rescue fleet took up defensive positions around the damaged Armada vessels. Medical ships began transferring injured crew members. Engineering vessels offered repair assistance. The immediate danger had passed, but the aftermath of battle was just beginning. Captain Torres walked through the corridors of Bhatti 180, inspecting the damage. Scorch marks blackened the walls where electrical fires had burned. Emergency bulkheads sealed off sections that had lost atmosphere. The smell of melted plastic and burned metal hung in the air. 7 crew members had been injured seriously enough to need medical attention. 2 of them were in critical condition. Torres stopped at the weapons bay where the accident had killed 2 technicians. Their names were written on a temporary memorial someone had created. Ensign David Park and Technician Second Class Maria Santos. Both young, both volunteers for humanity's first deep space military mission. Both dead because Torres had ordered a rushed missile modification. They knew the risks, Captain, Lieutenant Kim said quietly. She stood beside Torres, staring at the names. We all did. They died doing their duty. That does not make it easier, Torres replied. No, it does not. They stood in silence for a moment. Then Torres forced herself to move on. There was too much work to do to spend time grieving. That would come later, when the ship was repaired and safe. Down in engineering, Commander Reeves supervised repair teams working on the damaged FTL drive. The microjump had fractured several components that were never meant to handle such stress. Replacing them would take time and specialized tools. How bad is it? Torres asked. Reeves wiped sweat from her forehead, leaving a streak of grease. Bad enough. The drive will work for normal jumps, but any more micro jumps would be suicidal. We stress the quantum containment fields beyond their design limits. I am honestly surprised we did not tear a hole in space-time. Can you fix it? Eventually, but not with the resources we have on board. We need to dock at a proper shipyard with full fabrication facilities. That means returning to Council space. Torres had expected this. Bhatti 180 had been pushed far beyond its limits. The ship needed proper repairs, not battlefield patches. Do what you can with what we have, Torres said. Make her space-worthy enough to limp home. Aye, Captain. Give me 48 hours and we will be ready to travel at conventional speeds. Another week and I can get the FTL drive functioning safely. Torres left engineering and headed to the medical bay. The two critically injured crew members were there, hooked to alien medical equipment that the human doctors were still learning to use properly. Fortunately, the rescue fleet included a medical ship with experienced trauma surgeons from multiple species. They had taken over care for the worst cases. Dr. Jennifer Walsh, Bhatti 180's chief medical officer, briefed Torres on the status of the injured. Chen and Rodriguez will both recover fully. The alien doctors are amazing. They can repair nerve damage that would have left our people paralyzed back on Earth. Give them a few weeks and they will be back to active duty. And the others? Minor injuries, burns, broken bones, concussions. Nothing life-threatening. We were incredibly lucky, Captain. This could have been much worse. Torres knew that was true. They had survived 2 major engagements against superior forces. The casualty count could have been in the dozens instead of single digits. But she also knew that luck eventually ran out. On the bridge, Rodriguez had taken command while Torres inspected the ship. He coordinated with the rescue fleet, sharing sensor data and tactical information. The Zentari had retreated, but they remained in the area. Their fleet had pulled back to a defensive position near a small moon, watching and waiting. They are not leaving, Okafor observed. They are staying just close enough to monitor us, but far enough to avoid engagement. They want to see what we do next, Rodriguez said. If we try to move the supply convoy, they might attack again. If we stay here, we are stuck in hostile territory. What about the fake minefield? Torres asked as she returned to the bridge. Have they figured it out yet? Their scouts have been sweeping the debris field for the past hour. So far, they seem to believe the mines are real, but eventually, they will get close enough to realize the truth. By then, it will not matter. The rescue fleet changes the tactical balance. The Zentari cannot win a straight fight against our combined forces. A transmission came through from the Armada flagship. Commander Zilith wanted to speak with all senior commanders. Torres joined the virtual conference, seeing the faces of dozens of officers from multiple species. Zilith looked tired but determined. The immediate crisis has passed, but we still face significant challenges. The Zentari ambush was well planned and executed. They chose this location deliberately because it offers them strategic advantages. We are deep in contested space, far from reinforcements. The rescue fleet that arrived represents most of the available Council forces in this sector. There are no more ships coming. What about calling for additional support from our home systems? A commander asked. The nearest major fleet is 3 weeks away at best. We cannot hold this position for 3 weeks. We must either advance or withdraw. Advance where? The Vex commander's crystal body flickered with confusion. The Zentari control the space ahead of us. Behind us is the border we came from. Exactly. We were lured into a trap, and now the Zentari have positioned themselves between us and friendly territory. To retreat, we must fight through their fleet. To advance means going deeper into contested space, possibly into more traps. Torres studied the strategic map displayed in the conference. The Zentari fleet blocked the most direct route back to Council space. Going around them would add days to the journey and expose the slower supply ships to raiding parties. Fighting through was possible, but would cost many lives. There is a third option, Torres said. All eyes turned to her. We do not go back or forward, we go sideways. Explain, Zilith said. The Zentari are watching the obvious routes. But this sector has dozens of minor star systems that are not strategically important. If we plot a course through those systems, we can avoid the Zentari fleet entirely. It will take longer, but we keep the supply ships safe and preserve our forces. A Kralix commander objected. Those systems are unmapped by our forces. We would be traveling blind through potentially hostile territory. Better than traveling into a known hostile fleet, Torres countered. The Zentari cannot be everywhere. They are concentrated here because they expected us to use the main transit route. If we disappear into the minor systems, they will have to search for us. That buys us time and keeps them off balance. Zelith considered this. It is risky. Without detailed charts, we could encounter gravitational hazards, unstable stars, or other dangers. Or we could encounter nothing, empty space and quiet systems. We send scouts ahead to check each system before the main fleet enters. We move carefully and deliberately. It will be slower than a direct route, but safer. The commanders debated this plan. Some liked the caution it offered, others worried about the unknown dangers. Finally, Zelith made the decision. We will implement Captain Torres's plan. The fleet will proceed through minor systems to avoid direct confrontation with the Zentari. Scout ships will range ahead. All vessels will maintain combat readiness in case we encounter surprises. Prepare to move out in 6 hours. After the conference ended, Rodriguez turned to Torres. You realize this means we are leading the fleet into unknown space based on your recommendation. If something goes wrong, they will blame you. If something goes wrong, we will probably all be dead and blame will not matter, Torres replied. But I would rather take my chances with the unknown than fight through 60 Zentari warships when we are already damaged. Over the next 6 hours, the combined fleet prepared to depart. Supply ships finished their FTL drive charging. Medical ships transferred the most critically injured to vessels with better facilities. Engineering teams completed emergency repairs on damaged warships. Bhatti 180 received assistance from a Vex engineering ship that helped reinforce the stressed FTL drive components. Torres used the time to visit her crew and check morale. She found them in surprisingly good spirits despite the close calls and casualties. Word had spread through the fleet about Bhatti 180's actions. The human destroyer that everyone had mocked was now famous. Alien crew members from other ships sent messages of respect and admiration. We are the smallest ship in the fleet, but everybody knows our name now, one of the young ensigns said proudly. Fame is nice, but do not let it go to your heads, Torres warned. We succeeded through creativity and taking calculated risks, but luck played a role too. If that micro jump had gone wrong by a fraction of a second, we would have died inside the command ship's hull. Never forget that. When the fleet departed, Bhatti 180 took a position in the middle of the formation. No more rearguard duty. The Armada commanders had recognized that the human ship's greatest value was not in its weapons or shields, but in the creativity of its crew. Torres and her officers were now included in tactical planning sessions. Their input was sought and valued. The fleet entered the first minor star system cautiously. It contained a small yellow star with 3 rocky planets and no sign of civilization. Scouts reported no threats. The fleet passed through without incident. The second system contained a gas giant and an asteroid field. Again, the scouts found nothing dangerous. The fleet stopped near the gas giant to refuel the ships with specialized scoops that could harvest hydrogen from the planet's atmosphere. During the refueling stop, Torres received a private transmission from Commander Xylith. Captain Torres, I wanted to speak with you away from the formal command structure. What you and your crew accomplished was extraordinary, but I am concerned about the toll this is taking on your vessel. Bhatti 180 was never designed for combat this intense. You are pushing your ship beyond its limits. We do what is necessary, Commander. I understand, but when we return to Council space, I am going to recommend that Earth receive assistance in upgrading its military vessels. The Galactic Council has advanced technology we can share. Better shields, more powerful weapons, improved FTL drives. Humanity has proven it deserves to be treated as equals in the Armada, not as junior partners flying outdated equipment. Torres felt gratitude and pride. Thank you, Commander. That means a great deal to my crew and my species. Thank me by keeping yourself and your people alive. We need more commanders like you, Torres, beings who can think creatively and adapt to changing situations. Most military officers in the galaxy have centuries of tradition behind them. That tradition makes them powerful, but also predictable. You humans are not bound by those traditions yet. You bring fresh perspectives. Use that advantage, but be careful not to let bravery become recklessness. The transmission ended. Torres sat alone on her bridge and thought about Xylas' words. Bhatti 180 had succeeded twice through unconventional tactics in desperate gambles. But how many more times could they roll the dice before their luck ran out? The fleet traveled through 5 more minor star systems without encountering any Zentari forces. The route was longer than a direct path home, but safer. Each day took them closer to Council space and further from immediate danger. Repair work continued around the clock on damaged vessels, including Bhatti 180. On the 7th day of their journey, the fleet received word that the Galactic Council had been following their progress with great interest. The battle recordings had been analyzed by military strategists across dozens of worlds. What Bhatti 180 had accomplished had become the subject of intense discussion and study. Captain Torres was in her quarters, trying to catch a few hours of sleep, when Rodriguez called her to the bridge. "Captain, you need to see this. The Council is broadcasting a message on all military channels. It concerns our ship." Torres arrived on the bridge, still pulling on her uniform jacket. The main view screen showed a being she recognized immediately. It was the High Chancellor of the Galactic Council, a wise and ancient member of the architect species that looked like a cross between an octopus and a tree. The architects rarely involved themselves in military matters, preferring to focus on diplomacy and governance. "To all members of the Galactic Armada," the High Chancellor began, its voice translated into 100 languages simultaneously. "We have reviewed the recent engagement in the contested zones. The battle was nearly lost due to superior enemy numbers and tactical surprise. However, the actions of one vessel turned the tide of combat. The human destroyer Bhatti 180, under the command of Captain Elena Torres, demonstrated exceptional courage and innovative tactical thinking." The view screen showed footage from the battle. Torres watched herself on the screen, commanding her ship through the desperate fight. She saw the micro-jump into the enemy formation, the attack on the command ship, the escape through the debris field. Watching it from the outside, she realized just how close they had come to dying at every moment. The Galactic Council hereby awards the Star of Valor to Captain Torres and her crew. This is the highest military honor the Council can bestow, reserved for those who risk everything to protect others. Additionally, Earth's provisional status in the Armada is permanently upgraded to full membership. Humanity has proven its worth among the stars. The bridge crew erupted in cheers. Even Torres, who normally kept her emotions controlled, felt tears forming in her eyes. They had done it. Humanity was no longer a joke or an afterthought. They were equals. But the High Chancellor was not finished. "Captain Torres, the Council requests your presence at the capital station when you return. We wish to discuss the tactical innovations you demonstrated. There is much the established military powers can learn from humanity's fresh approach to warfare. Your species may be young, but you have already taught us valuable lessons." The transmission ended. Torres turned to face her crew. They were smiling and hugging each other. Someone started singing an old Earth military march. Others joined in, their voices filling the bridge with sound and joy. "We actually did it," Rodriguez said, shaking his head in amazement. "We went from being the ship that everyone laughed at to being honored by the entire council." "The crew did it," Torres corrected. Everyone on this ship performed beyond expectations. From engineering to weapons to sensors, every department contributed to our success. She activated the ship-wide communication system. All hands, this is the captain. You heard the High Chancellor's message. The Star of Valor is not mine alone. It belongs to every person on this ship. You faced impossible odds and found ways to win. You worked miracles in engineering, weapons, and medical. You trusted each other and worked as one crew. I am proud to serve with you. More cheers echoed through the corridors of Bhatti 180. For a brief moment, the damaged ship felt like the most powerful vessel in the galaxy. The celebration was interrupted by an incoming transmission from another ship in the fleet. To Torres's surprise, it was from a Vex warship. The crystalline being that appeared on screen was not the military commander, but someone different. Its crystal structure glowed with colors Torres had not seen before. Captain Torres, I am Scholar Crystallis of the Vex scientific community. I have been studying the recordings of your battles, and I wish to speak with you about your tactical approaches, specifically your use of kinetic weapons and micro-jump maneuvers. Would you be willing to meet in person? Of course, Scholar. When and where? I will shuttle to your vessel in 1 hour, if that is acceptable. I am bringing several colleagues who are equally fascinated by human military thinking. An hour later, Torres welcomed Scholar Crystallis and 3 other Vex researchers to Bhatti 180. They floated through the corridors, their crystal bodies refracting light in beautiful patterns. The human crew stared in fascination at these visitors. Vex were rarely seen outside their home systems, preferring to remain isolated and focused on their studies. Torres led them to the conference room where Lieutenant Okafor, Commander Reeves, and Lieutenant Kim were waiting. She had assembled her key officers for this discussion. Scholar Crystallis settled into a floating position at the table. Its voice chimed softly as it spoke. Thank you for meeting with us, Captain. We have many questions about your tactical decisions during the battle. First, the micro-jump maneuver. Our calculations suggest that what you attempted should have been impossible. The gravitational interference from nearby ships should have disrupted your FTL field and torn your vessel apart. It nearly did, Reeves said bluntly. The jump stressed our systems to the breaking point. We are still repairing the damage. Yet you succeeded. How? Torres thought about how to explain this. Our FTL technology is less advanced than yours. That actually worked in our favor. Your ships use extremely precise quantum field manipulation. One tiny error and the whole system fails. Our drives are cruder but more forgiving. They can handle stress that would shut down a more sophisticated system. Another Vex researcher chimed in. Fascinating. So technological simplicity became an advantage. In this specific situation, yes. A more advanced drive could not have made that jump, but I would not recommend making it standard practice. We got lucky. Tell us about the kinetic weapons, Crystallis requested. Why do humans still use such primitive projectiles when energy weapons are far more effective? Lieutenant Kim answered this question. Energy weapons are better in most situations, but they have weaknesses. They drain ship power. They leave signatures that sensors can easily track. They are affected by energy shields. Kinetic weapons are simple, cheap, and difficult to detect until they hit. Against an enemy expecting energy weapons, they can be surprisingly effective. And the fake minefield? Crystallis asked. That was pure deception. Most military doctrines in the galaxy do not emphasize such tactics. They rely on superior firepower and defensive technology. Humans have been fighting each other for thousands of years, Torres explained. We learned long ago that battles are not just about who has the biggest weapons. They are about strategy, psychology, and making your opponent second-guess themselves. If the Zentari had rushed straight at us, we would have lost. But by making them pause and worry about mines that did not exist, we bought enough time for reinforcements to arrive. The Vex researchers were silent for a moment, their crystal bodies flickering with what Torres interpreted as deep thought. You fight like scientists, Crystalla said finally. You observe, hypothesize, test, and adapt. Most military forces in the galaxy follow established doctrines that have proven successful over millennia. They do not experiment. They do not question. They rely on what has always worked. But you humans approach each battle as a new problem, requiring a unique solution. We do not have millennia of successful military tradition to rely on, Torres said. So, we improvise. We try things that might not work because sometimes desperation leads to innovation. The galaxy needs more of this thinking, Crystalla said. Our civilizations have become comfortable, complacent. The Zentari caught us in a trap because they knew exactly how we would respond to every situation. They have been studying us for centuries, but they did not know how to predict humans because humans do not follow predictable patterns. The discussion continued for hours. The Vex researchers asked detailed questions about every aspect of the battles. They wanted to understand not just what Bhatti 180 had done, but why the crew had made those specific choices. They took extensive notes and recorded everything. When the meeting finally ended, Scholar Crystallis floated close to Torres. Captain, I am going to recommend to the Council that human tactical thinking be incorporated into Armada training programs. Officers from all species should learn to question assumptions and think creatively. You have given us a gift, though you may not realize it. You have reminded us that there are always new ways to solve old problems. After the Vex researchers left, Torres sat alone in the conference room. She thought about everything that had happened since that first briefing when everyone laughed at Bhatti 180. In less than 2 weeks, humanity had gone from being dismissed as inexperienced children to being respected as innovative warriors. But Torres also knew that this was just the beginning. The Zentari were still out there, planning their next move. Other threats existed in the galaxy that humanity had not even encountered yet. Bhatti 180 had proven humans could fight, but one battle did not win a war. Rodriguez entered the conference room and sat down across from her. You look worried, Captain. We just received the highest honor the Council can give. We should be celebrating. I know, and I am proud of what we accomplished. But I am also thinking about what comes next. The Zentari will not forget what we did to their command ship. They will study our tactics and develop counters. The element of surprise we had is gone now. So we adapt again, find new tricks, stay one step ahead. For how long? Eventually our luck runs out. Rodriguez smiled. Captain, I have served under you for 5 years. I have learned that you do not rely on luck. You create opportunities and exploit them. That is not luck. That is skill. Trust yourself and trust this crew. We will figure out whatever comes next. Torres nodded slowly. Rodriguez was right. Worrying about future battles would not help them survive those battles. Better to focus on the present, learn from their successes, and prepare for the challenges ahead. Come on, Rodriguez said. The crew is planning a celebration in the mess hall. They want you there. After everything we have been through, we deserve a few hours to feel good about ourselves. Torres allowed herself to smile. You are right. Let us go celebrate. Tomorrow we can worry about the future. Tonight, we earned a moment of peace. 3 months passed after the fleet returned safely to Council space. Bhatti 180 spent those months at the orbital yards above the planet Sanctuary, the largest shipbuilding facility in the Galactic Council. The destroyer underwent extensive repairs and upgrades that transformed it from a purely human vessel into something new. Captain Torres walked through her ship and barely recognized it. The hull still had the same basic shape, but everything else had changed. Vex engineers had installed advanced shield generators that could absorb 3 times as much damage as the original systems. Krallick's weapons specialists added energy beam emitters alongside the kinetic missile tubes. The FTL drive now incorporated technology from 4 different species, making it both more powerful and more reliable. But the most important changes were not technological. They were the crew members. "Captain, the new tactical officer is here," Rodriguez announced. Torres turned to see a Kralix officer entering the bridge. His green scales gleamed under the lights, and his orange feathers were neatly groomed. He saluted in the traditional Kralix manner, crossing his arms over his chest. "Lieutenant Zarthex reporting for duty, Captain. Commander Xylith assigned me to your vessel as part of the integration program." The integration program was a new initiative created after the battle. Mixed crews of humans and aliens would serve together, learning from each other and developing combined tactics. Bhatti 180 was one of 12 ships chosen for this experiment. Over the past week, 15 alien crew members had joined the human destroyer. Similarly, 15 human crew members had transferred to alien vessels to serve and learn. "Welcome aboard, Lieutenant," Torres said. "Your station is tactical planning. We will brief you on our systems and procedures." "I look forward to it, Captain. I studied your battle tactics at the Academy. Very creative. My instructors called them reckless, but I think they were brilliant." Torres smiled. "They were both reckless and brilliant. We try to find the balance between the two." More alien crew members arrived over the following days. A Vex sensor specialist named Crystalline joined Lieutenant Okafor's team. Two tentacled beings from the Aquari species took positions in engineering, bringing expertise in plasma systems. A floating jellyfish-like creature called a Luminar became the new communications officer, able to process multiple channels simultaneously. The integration was not always smooth. Cultural differences caused misunderstandings. The human crew ate meals at scheduled times, while some alien species preferred to graze constantly. Humans slept in cycles of 6 to 8 hours, but Vex never slept at all. The Luminar needed to spend several hours a day floating in a tank of specialized fluid. But slowly, the mixed crew learned to work together. Humans taught aliens about improvisation and quick decision-making. Aliens taught humans about patience and long-term strategic thinking. The two approaches complemented each other surprisingly well. Commander Reeves found herself working closely with the Aquari engineers. At first, she was frustrated by their methodical approach. They wanted to analyze every problem from multiple angles before attempting a solution. But she came to appreciate how this prevented mistakes that human haste might cause. "You humans fix things quickly," one of the Aquari told her. "But we Aquari make sure they stay fixed. Together, we do both." Lieutenant Kim discovered that the alien weapons systems opened up entirely new tactical possibilities. The energy beams could disable enemy shields, allowing the kinetic missiles to punch through and cause real damage. It was like having two different weapons that worked better together than either did alone. "We should develop combined fire patterns," Kim suggested during a weapons drill. "Use the beams to weaken a target, then hit it with kinetics while it is vulnerable." Lieutenant Zarthex agreed enthusiastically. "Yes, exactly. Most ships use either energy weapons or kinetics, but rarely both. By combining them, we create unpredictable attack patterns. Enemies will not know how to defend." While Bhatti 180 received upgrades and integrated its mixed crew, Captain Torres was called to the capital station repeatedly for meetings and presentations. The Galactic Council wanted to understand human tactical thinking in detail. They asked her to speak at military academies, brief senior commanders, and participate in strategic planning sessions. Torres found herself in rooms with beings who had been commanding fleets before Earth even had written language. Yet they listened to her ideas with respect. The battle had changed how the galaxy viewed humanity, but it had also changed how the galaxy viewed warfare itself. "For 10,000 years we have fought the same way," an elderly architect general told her during one meeting. "We refined our tactics until they became perfect, but perfection is also predictability. The Zentari knew exactly how we would respond to every situation because we always respond the same way. You humans do not have that problem. You make up new responses constantly." We do not see that as making things up, Torres replied. We see it as adapting to circumstances. Every battle is different. Every enemy has different strengths and weaknesses. Using the same tactics for every situation seems limiting. It is limiting, but it is also safe. Our way has worked for millennia. Changing it is risky. Staying the same while enemies evolve is also risky. The general was silent for a moment, considering this. You are right, of course. We must change. The question is, how much and how fast? Radical change could destabilize our entire military structure, but refusing to change could get us all killed. Torres understood the challenge. The Galactic Armada was a massive organization with traditions dating back thousands of years. Asking it to change quickly was like trying to turn a planet. Possible, but requiring enormous force applied carefully. Start small, she suggested. Mixed crews like Bhatti 180, joint training exercises, tactical competitions where different approaches are tested against each other. Let officers see what works and what does not. Change will happen naturally if you give people the tools and the freedom to experiment. This advice seemed to resonate with the council leadership. Over the following months, more ships received mixed crews. The integration program expanded from 12 experimental vessels to over 100. Human officers began teaching courses at alien military academies. Alien officers studied Earth's military history, fascinated by humanity's endless conflicts and the innovations those conflicts produced. But not everyone welcomed these changes. Some conservative commanders resisted what they saw as dangerous experimentation. They argued that proven tactics should not be abandoned just because humans had gotten lucky in a few battles. Torres encountered this resistance directly when she was assigned to evaluate a training exercise. Two fleets would face each other in a simulated battle. One fleet used traditional Galactic Armada tactics. The other used a mix of traditional and human-inspired innovations. The traditional fleet was commanded by Admiral Kroken, a Kralix officer with 50 years of experience. He made no secret of his skepticism about human tactical thinking. Captain Torres, I understand that Council wants us to learn from your species, Kroken said during the pre-exercise briefing. But I have been fighting battles since before your planet had spaceflight. Experience matters. I respect what you accomplished, but I believe proper military discipline and proven tactics will always triumph over improvisation. Then this exercise will be educational for both of us, Admiral, Torres replied diplomatically. The simulated battle began. Admiral Kroken's fleet advanced in perfect formation, exactly as doctrine dictated. The opposing fleet, commanded by a younger officer who had studied human tactics, scattered into smaller groups and attacked from multiple angles. They used feints and deceptions. They retreated when pressed, then counterattacked when Kroken's forces overextended. The traditional fleet's superior firepower should have won easily, but the innovative fleet stayed mobile, avoiding direct confrontations and striking at vulnerable points. They used the terrain of the star system, hiding behind planets and asteroids, using gravity wells to their advantage. After 6 hours of simulated combat, the exercise ended in a draw. Neither side had achieved a decisive victory, but Admiral Kroken's fleet had taken heavy, simulated casualties, while the innovative fleet remained mostly intact. Kroken studied the results in silence for several minutes. Finally, he spoke. I was wrong. Not completely, but enough to matter. My fleet should have won decisively. We had superior numbers and firepower, but we could not bring that superiority to bear because the enemy refused to fight the way we expected. They turned our strength into a weakness by avoiding direct combat and striking where we were vulnerable. He turned to Torres. This is what you did to the Zentari. You made them fight on your terms instead of theirs. I understand now why the Council values human thinking. It is not that your way is better than ours. It is that having multiple ways to approach problems makes us stronger overall. More exercises followed. Each one tested different scenarios and tactical approaches. The results were analyzed and discussed endlessly. Slowly, the Galactic Armada began to incorporate new ideas into its doctrine, not replacing the old ways completely, but adding to them, creating a richer and more flexible military force. During all this, Torres stayed in regular contact with her crew aboard Bhatti 180. The mixed crew was working well together, developing a unique culture that blended human and alien elements. They created new traditions, combining holidays and ceremonies from different species. The mess hall served food from a dozen worlds. The observation deck became a place where crew members of all species gathered to share stories. One evening, Torres found Rodriguez and Lieutenant Zarthex in the observation deck, looking at the stars. "We were just discussing the battle," Zarthex explained. "I wanted to understand why you made certain decisions." Rodriguez was explaining human intuition to me. "Can you explain human intuition to me as well?" Torres asked with a smile. "I am not sure I understand it myself." "It is making decisions based on incomplete information," Rodriguez said. "Trusting your instincts even when logic suggests waiting for more data. Aliens seem uncomfortable with that approach." "Not uncomfortable," Zarthex corrected, "just unfamiliar. We are taught to analyze thoroughly before acting. But you humans act first and analyze later. Sometimes that means you make mistakes, but it also means you seize opportunities that we would miss while calculating optimal responses." "So neither approach is perfect," Torres said, "but together they might be closer to perfect than either alone." "Exactly," Zarthex agreed. His feathers ruffled in a gesture Torres had learned meant satisfaction. "This is why the integration program matters. We are not trying to make humans think like Krallics or Krallics think like humans. We are learning to understand each other's strengths and use them together." 6 months after the battle, Bhatti 180 completed its refit and prepared to return to active duty. The destroyer was no longer the same ship that had been mocked at the initial briefing. It was stronger, faster, and crewed by beings from 4 different species working as one team. Captain Torres stood on the bridge and looked at her crew. Lieutenant Okafor worked alongside Crystalline at the sensor station, their different approaches to data analysis complementing each other perfectly. Lieutenant Zarthex coordinated with Lieutenant Kim on weapons systems, developing firing patterns that no single species would have conceived alone. Commander Reeves supervised a mixed engineering team that could repair systems using techniques from across the galaxy. "Captain, we are receiving deployment orders," Park announced. "The fleet is mobilizing for a patrol of the outer sectors. We have been assigned to Battle Group Delta." "Not rear guard duty this time, I hope," Rodriguez said with a grin. "Actually, sir, we are assigned as forward reconnaissance. The battle group commander specifically requested Bhatti 180 for the advanced position." Torres smiled. 6 months ago, they had been relegated to the back of the formation. Now they were trusted to lead. That was real progress. "Helm, set course to rendezvous with Battle Group Delta. Let us show them what this crew can do." As Bhatti 180 departed the orbital yards, Torres received a final transmission from Commander Xylith. The Krallics officer appeared on the view screen, his expression serious but warm. "Captain Torres, I wanted to speak with you before your deployment. The Galactic Council has approved a major expansion of the integration program. 100 ships will receive mixed crews over the next year. You and Bhatti 180 proved this concept works. Everything that follows builds on your foundation." "Thank you, Commander, but this success belongs to the entire crew, not just me." "I know. That is why I am promoting you. Effective immediately, you hold the rank of Admiral. The Council is creating a new tactical development division, and they want you to lead it. Your mission will be to continue innovating and teaching those innovations to the rest of the Armada." Torres was stunned. "Admiral? Commander, I am only 42 years old. There are beings with centuries more experience than me. Experience is valuable, but fresh thinking is equally important. You have both proven yourself in combat and shown the ability to teach others. The galaxy needs leaders who can adapt to new threats. That is you, Admiral Torres. I do not know what to say. Say yes. The job comes with a flagship, a staff, and authority to implement new tactical doctrines across the entire Armada. You will report directly to the Council's military committee. It is a massive responsibility, but I believe you are ready for it. Torres thought about her crew, the ship she had commanded for 5 years, and the journey that had brought them from mockery to respect. Then she thought about the broader mission, helping the entire Galactic Armada become more adaptive and innovative, ensuring that humanity's contributions continued to make a difference. I accept, Commander, but I want to keep Bhatti 180 as my flagship. This ship and this crew started something important. We should finish it together. Xylas' feathers rose in what Torres had learned was amusement. That is exactly the kind of sentimental human thinking that makes you valuable. Very well. Bhatti 180 will be your flagship, though we will need to upgrade it significantly for an admiral's duties. Expect to spend another month in the yards. The transmission ended. Torres turned to her bridge crew. They had all heard the conversation and were staring at her with expressions ranging from pride to disbelief. You are an admiral now, Rodriguez said slowly. That means I am serving as first officer to an admiral. On a destroyer. That might be the strangest command structure in military history. We have never been traditional, Torres replied. Why start now? Helm, cancel those deployment orders. We are returning to the orbital yards for another refit. Apparently, we are about to become a flagship. The bridge crew laughed. After everything they had been through together, one more challenge seemed manageable. Over the next month, Bhatti 180 underwent additional modifications. The ship received advanced communication systems to coordinate with other vessels. Conference rooms were added for planning sessions. The crew quarters expanded to accommodate visiting officers and trainees. The destroyer was still small compared to traditional flagships, but it became a symbol of the new Armada philosophy. Adaptability over size, innovation over tradition, cooperation over isolation. When the modifications were complete, Admiral Torres took command of the Tactical Development Division. Her responsibilities included evaluating new weapons and systems, developing training programs, and serving as an advisor to the Council on military matters. Bhatti 180 became a traveling classroom, visiting different fleets and demonstrating innovative tactics. Everywhere they went, the ship was received with respect and curiosity. Young officers wanted to hear the story of the battle firsthand. Veterans wanted to understand how human thinking could improve their own tactics. Torres spent countless hours in meetings, presentations, and training exercises, spreading the lessons her crew had learned. But she never forgot that those lessons had come at a cost. 2 crew members had died during the battle. Dozens more had been injured. Bhatti 180 had survived through skill and luck in roughly equal measure. The next ship attempting similar tactics might not be so fortunate. That was why Torres emphasized careful judgment alongside creativity. Innovation was important, but so was wisdom. Knowing when to take risks and when to follow doctrine. Understanding that every tactical decision affected real lives. War is not a game or an academic exercise, she told a class of young officers at a military academy. Every choice you make as a commander has consequences. People live or die based on your decisions. That responsibility should terrify you. If it does not, you are not qualified to lead. The students listened intently. These were beings from a dozen species, all learning together how to protect the Galactic Council from threats, internal and external. They would go on to command ships and fleets, making decisions that shape the future. One student, a young human named Chen, raised her hand. Admiral, how do you deal with the fear, knowing that your decisions affect so many lives? Torres thought about this. You never stop feeling the fear, but you learn to function despite it. You trust your training, your crew, and your instincts. You make the best decision you can with the information available, and you accept that sometimes even your best decision will not be enough. That is the burden of command. After the class ended, Torres walked through the academy halls. Portraits lined the walls showing famous military leaders from throughout galactic history, beings who had won great battles, saved entire worlds, and shaped the course of civilizations. They all looked confident and powerful in their portraits. Torres wondered if any of them had felt as uncertain as she sometimes did. Had they doubted their decisions, lost sleep worrying about the lives under their command? Or had centuries of tradition and experience given them a certainty she lacked? She suspected they had all felt doubt. Command was universal across species. The responsibility, the weight of lives depending on your choices, the knowledge that mistakes meant death. These things did not change whether you were human, or Kralix, or Vex. Everyone who bore that burden struggled with it, but they bore it anyway because someone had to. Torres returned to Bhatti 180 and found her mixed crew preparing for the next deployment. They worked together seamlessly now, humans and aliens moving around each other with practiced coordination. In 6 months, they had become more than just a mixed crew. They had become a family. "Admiral, we have a message from Earth," Park announced. "It is from Captain Chen. She wanted to congratulate you on your promotion." Sarah Chen, the young officer who had endured mockery at that first briefing. Torres had not spoken with her in months. She accepted the call. "Admiral Torres," Chen said with a broad smile, "I heard the news. Humanity's first admiral in the Galactic Armada. I am so proud of what you accomplished." "We accomplished it together, Sarah. Your presentation started this journey. You stood there while they laughed and kept your dignity. That took courage." They are not laughing anymore. Earth has been flooded with requests for military exchange programs. Every species wants to learn from us now. We are building 5 new destroyers based on Bhatti 180's design, and the Council has approved technology transfers that will advance our fleet by decades. All because you proved we belong here. After the call ended, Torres sat in her command chair and thought about the journey. From that humiliating briefing to this moment. From being dismissed as primitive to becoming a leader the galaxy respected. From one small destroyer to an entire division focused on innovation. Rodriguez entered the bridge and took his position. "Ready for the next deployment, Admiral?" "Always ready," Torres replied. "Where are we going?" "The frontier sectors. Reports of unusual activity near the old neutral zones. The Council wants us to investigate and assess potential threats. More unknowns, more challenges, more opportunities to prove that humanity's approach to warfare had value." Torres smiled. This was exactly what she wanted. Not sitting safely at headquarters, but out among the stars, leading by example. "Helm, set course for the frontier sectors. Maximum speed." Bhatti 180 accelerated away from the orbital yards, heading into space that held both dangers and possibilities. On the bridge, humans and aliens worked together, combining their strengths to create something greater than either could achieve alone. The galaxy had laughed when they saw Bhatti 180 at that first briefing. A small ship with primitive weapons and an inexperienced crew. Now that same ship carried an admiral's flag and represented the future of the Galactic Armada. Sometimes the best revenge was not confrontation, but success. Not proving others wrong through argument, but through action. Bhatti 180 and its crew had done exactly that. They had taken mockery and turned it into respect. Taken disadvantages and turned them into strengths. Taken doubt and turned it into certainty. As the stars streaked past on the view screen, Torres thought about all the young beings across the galaxy who dreamed of serving in the Armada. Human and alien alike. They would grow up in a military that valued creativity alongside discipline, innovation alongside tradition, fresh perspectives alongside ancient wisdom. They would inherit a stronger, more adaptable Armada because one small destroyer had refused to accept limitations, because one crew had shown that being different was not a weakness, but a strength, because humanity had looked at thousands of years of military tradition and said, "That is good, but we can make it better." The journey was far from over. New threats would emerge. New challenges would test them. But Torres was confident that the combined forces of the Galactic Armada could face whatever came, not because they were perfect, but because they were willing to learn, adapt, and grow. That willingness to change was humanity's gift to the galaxy. Not just new tactics or different weapons, but a mindset that embraced innovation rather than fearing it, that saw every problem as an opportunity to find a better solution, that never accepted "this is how we have always done it" as a reason to stop improving. Bhatti 180 jumped to FTL, carrying that philosophy toward the frontier and whatever waited there. Behind them, hundreds of ships in the Galactic Armada prepared to follow, some with pure crews, some with mixed crews, all of them learning new ways to protect the worlds they served. The galaxy had laughed. Now the galaxy learned, and that made all the difference.